So we're making pastry dough in this video. We have salt, sugar, shortening, and butter mixed, iced water. We're gonna combine in the 3 cups of flour, the salt, sugar, stir or blend. We're gonna blend those nice and get everything mixed together. And we'll add the butter shortening combination. We put them together in one container as we're just going to blend them in as well. You can see there the slight variation in color. That's the shortening and that's the butter. Okay. And we hand blend those together. Just keep mixing until the butter and shortening has blended well with the flour. We are going to keep doing that until both have broken down and the flour mixture would be a crumbly texture. By the end of it, then we would know it's ready for the ice bath. So keep doing that. And as you can see, it's starting to come together. Nice and crumbly. So after combining the shortening, butter mixed and blending those together, this is now the texture of the flour. That's the consistency we were hoping for. Now we would add our ice water. That is 2 cups of ice water. We're going to add that in slowly. And we will blend. Again, this is homemade. This is rustic. We like making our own pastry for our baked goods. Sometimes we follow a recipe, sometimes we do it from the heart. This is what you call soul food. So we cook this stuff based on our feelings. So today we're gonna see what our feeling create. And we would see what we end up with at the end when it's created, baked, and presented. The dough is a little soft because I think we put too much water to start with. We are gonna have to remedy that and we will be right back. So we're working on remedying our pastry dough. We have to try and get the consistency just right. So we would keep adding flour and folding and adding and folding and adding and just working that dough into the consistency that we would like it to be. And we would keep doing that until it is at the point where we're happy with the results. So after several folding and blending and working the dough, this is now the consistency of our pastry dough. This is how it has turned out, and it is all ready to be placed in the refrigerator where it will get nice and cold, and we'll be ready to form it into whatever goodie we are going to make with this. Yeah, so this is homemade pastry dough. We are aiming for a nice flaky tender consistency when we are finished. So she gets wrapped in plastic and we will place her in the refrigerator for about half an hour. And then when we take her out, she would be nice and cold and firm and ready to be worked. Right now she's soft. Okay, so we're also going to be making one bread. The recipe is an Amish bread. So we have set up in here, that's yeast that we have stirred to, it's a traditional yeast. So we have to proof it. We have to set it up to proof. So we add sugar and warm water and the dry yeast, and that is in this bowl. And then we have to set that and let it rise for 5 minutes approximately. And once it starts proofing, then it's ready to be added to the flour. So we will just set that now and then let that sit for a bit, and we'll cover it at room temperature, and that would be being added to this whole wheat flour. We're going to try the recipe using whole wheat. So now it's covered, set aside, and we will wait for that to do its thing. So the yeast have proofed. The last time we looked at it, it was all liquid. Now, as you can see, I tilted that foam on the top there. That is it having rised. It is now ready to be added to the flour with the other ingredients. A little bit of oil and some sugar. Not sugar, sorry, salt. And we're going to put that in our flour and mix it up, and that will be our recipe for our loaf today. Okay, so now we're adding the salt, we add the oil, and we are going to take those ingredients. Remember, the yeast was already in there. See all that foaming meant that it was active, it activated, it's working, and that is going to help our flour rise. That's going to be the raising agent for our bread. And now we're adding in with all the time, blending. Another cup, blending. And we keep doing that, adding and blending until we get the consistency that we would like. Still blending. We would work that and work that and work it until we get it to a nice, soft, fluffy texture. But in the meantime, it's just a matter of adding flour and blending, adding flour and blending, and we keep working that. So this is the consistency we have arrived at with our dough, and we would keep adding flour and working that, adding flour, working it, adding flour and working until we reach to the point where we're satisfied with it, and then we would eventually cover that and put it aside to raise and get fluffy, and we'll bake it. Yeah, homemade goodies, guys. It's not hard. Buy your flour and your little salt, sugar, butter, shortening if it calls for it, or a little bit of oil. And you mix those with water and just keep working it, kneading. And you can also throw this in a mixer if you so choose. We choose to do it by hand because the satisfaction of playing with the dough. We love playing up with dough, so so we love getting our hands in there. So we knead and roll and knead and roll and turn over our dough and fold and just keep working with it until we're satisfied or feel happy, and then we'll set it aside and you would see what it looks like. I think these are to double in quantity by the time we're ready to put it in the oven. So we would see if we did a good job, if we get the result that we are hoping for. Okay, so it's all kneaded. We have a neat little round ball, and we are going to set this aside. And hopefully, like I said, if we did everything well, she should double, maybe even triple in size. And we would work with her again, roll her out, turn her into a nice, beautiful, pretty loaf that we'll put in the oven to bake. So we've set it in this bowl. This is going to keep her together in a nice compact format, and we're gonna cover the bowl with some plastic saran wrap. That would help trap the heat as the dough rises, because the yeast is still working at this point. So as the yeast is working and helping the dough to rise, we would cover that with the plastic, which would keep the yeast warm in the dough and help the dough to rise and double or triple in size as we're hoping for. So yes, we wrap that up nice and tight, keep the warm air in, and when we come back, hopefully she is 3 times that size. Okay, so now back to the pastry. We've taken it out of the fridge and we are going to roll it out, see how our handiwork turned out, and if it's ready for making our raisin roll. I think this dough we're gonna try and do a raisin roll. So we'll use half the quantity since we're only going to make 1 raisin roll. So we've divided our dough into 2 and we will start rolling. So we floured our countertop. We're gonna spread our dough just lightly, since for flakier dough we try not to handle the dough too much for a flakier pastry. So we'll use a roller instead and roll that out. It's working so far. It's looking quite cooperative. Our dough seems to be cooperating, so I think we may get the desired result after all. So our dough is ready. We sprinkle some sugar. Yeah, because this is a sweet pastry, really. Aiming for a raisin roll, so we want that sweetness to come through. So we add a little sugar. When we were proofing the yeast, when we were setting up the yeast, we add a little more sugar than normal amount that we would use if we were making just plain everyday rolls, because we want that sweetness in the dough as well as the inner sections of the raisin roll to be sweet. Now this is cinnamon. Ground cinnamon, sprinkle that on. So sugar, cinnamon thus far, spread that out nice and evenly. Get it all over that dough, because every cut of your raisin roll you want to have a little flavor of cinnamon and some raisin with every piece that you take off. So we just keep blending that sugar and cinnamon. Sugar and cinnamon. Just keep blending, spreading all over, close to the edges. Yeah, get that in there. And when we're satisfied, we would then add our raisins. Okay, so now we're gonna add our raisins. We're just gonna sprinkle them on, spreading them out, try to get them nice and evenly as possible on our dough. Put that in there. And we're gonna just move them out. So our raisins are all spread out as evenly as we can get them. So now we are going to start with the rolling. We're going to gently pick up one end and move it over. We're going to close both ends. There we go, like so. Try to seal all our juices inside when that sugar starts melting by folding the edges. That we're hoping will help seal that in there. And we just fold and we just keep rolling and tuck, roll and tuck as we go along the dough, trying to keep everything inside. Roll and tuck, roll and tuck, all the way to the ends. It's a bit of an art form in itself, just getting this part of it done. Keep rolling and tucking, and keep doing that, and get there, and voila! Got that, all that goodness sealed up inside. Sometimes you have to take a retake because it may come open right at the last minute, especially when you're attempted to move it from your preparation surface onto your baking sheet. Secret is to do a little pinch and tuck, seal the dough as if it's an envelope, pull over, pinch and tuck that in there nicely, a light roll to seal everything, and I think we got it that time. Okay, look at that beauty. So now we are going to transfer her, fingers crossed, onto the sheet. So here we go. Let's see. And of course, Charlie, as usual, has to get his say in. So we pick it up and onto the sheet, lay her down. Since we're only making the one, it's okay to put her right in the middle, which is what we've done. And she would go from here, this process now, into the oven. And we'll be back to see what she turns out like. Okay, so this is what our dough came up to. I mean, it's doubled. I don't want to say tripled in size. I mean, I could be wrong, but I'm happy with the results. Now we are going to roll her out and make our loaf. So for this bread, we are just going to hand roll and hand smooth and hand level to get it out to the consistency that we want. So we would just keep working the dough and working the dough and just getting that spread out, and just keep doing that, just keep working it and working it as we go, just back and forth, working it out. Now we start rolling, roll and tuck. That gives you a better seal so that your loaf doesn't open up like a flower on you. So just roll and tuck, just roll and tuck, seal that dough in nicely. And while we're working on this loaf, the raisin roll is in the oven, baking up. Should be ready to come out pretty soon. And then we'll do a reveal on that. And this one we're getting together, and this would be going into the oven in a few minutes as well. Nice roll, even her out some, working those tucks, and there you have it. That is going to be the loaf. And transfer onto the baking sheet. In the center again, as we're only doing one. If we were doing a half a dozen of these, 3, 4, or whatever, we would have started at the side here and just lay them across. A little cut for a little design on the top, and it is ready. And we would put her in. And there she is, completed. Raisin roll done. We would have to cut it and see what it's like inside, how everything is. Hopefully she turned out as juicy and as yummy as we were anticipating. And we will do the grand reveal of a slice later. Our Amish homemade loaf is completed. She's been in the oven and she's out. Now she's gonna join her sister, our raisin roll, on the cooling rack. And there they are, all done. Raisin roll for dessert and our Amish homemade loaf recipe that we found on the internet. We decided to give a try. So there we have it from our kitchen today. That was our little experiment. So there we have them. There's the sisters. Raisin roll and Amish homemade bread from our kitchen, just cooling. And later we would slice up. I have my items ready to have a little tea and sample, and we would see how that all turns out. So hopefully it was a successful day in the kitchen. Well, not day, it didn't take an entire day. It took about, I don't know, 2 hours from beginning to being baked. The longest part of any baking experiment is waiting for everything to prove and rise and for the dough to double. But the initial prep, getting everything, once you have everything in your pantry, that part is a breeze. It goes by very quickly. Okay, so it's reveal time. We will be cutting our raisin roll and our Amish loaf and see what all our efforts turned out to be. So take it away, honey. Let us see you open up that. There we go. We're gonna cut it in half. 2 halves. Let's see the inside. Okay. Okay, look at that. All that beautiful raisin goodness. Raisin and brown sugar. Hold it up to the light, because it's gotten dark now. And cinnamon. And we're gonna slice that. Let's see what it looks like. And there we have it. Nice slice of raisin roll to go with a nice cup of tea. Served on our moonlight rose china. We are gonna open the other one as well while we're at it. Why not, eh? Let's see that pretty golden goodness. And look at that. Yeah, perfect. Very nice. Well done. And let's slice some of that as well. Put it together. And look at that. Look at that presentation. Cup of tea. And a slice of raisin roll. And a nice slice of Amish homemade loaf. And there we go. And there you have it. That was our effort for the evening. That was our evening of baking, and that is the results. Until next time, I'm sure we'll have another awesome goodie to feature. Maybe we'll do an apple pie next. Homemade rustic apple pie. That would be a good feature. Stay tuned for that one. And again, enjoy your lives, enjoy the simple things, and relax and just do whatever makes you happy. Let your heart sing.